What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we have another rumor to talk about for the Detroit Lions. I know probably wish I would have put this rumor into the other video, but I guess I separated the two, kind of forgot to talk about it in my last video. So we're doing it now. The Lions reportedly may be interested in Tyrod Taylor this offseason. So let's get it started.
You know, I got to shout out DoseOfDion, man, because it was actually the first time I went live on YouTube. And, guys don't know, DoseOfDion, he put out a lot of good content for the Detroit Lions.
Welcome everybody to another video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, we got another rumor for the Detroit Lions. This comes from the same source on Twitter that is now stating the Lions could be interested in signing Tyrod Taylor and adding him to the quarterback room. Now, this one isn't necessarily saying the Lions will sign Tyrod Taylor, but it's saying that the Lions would basically be interested, which is kind of something I guess probably a lot of us probably expected. Okay, I mean, Dan Campbell already told us that, yes, guys with ties are going to be more intriguing because you know what their weaknesses are, you know what they struggle with, but you know those guys, right? You have a relationship with them, you know how they are as a person, you know how they are for the locker room, you know how they will fit with the team. So guys with ties just make sense. And then you look at Tyrod Taylor. Now, Tyrod Taylor is an interesting option. If you don't know who this is the quarterback that spent time with the Los Angeles Chargers last season. He's also spent time in the past with the Cleveland Browns, Baltimore, Buffalo. He's kind of bounced around a little bit, but he's been a starter at times and a backup at other times. Last season, we know that it was that whole puncture lung incident, which apparently wasn't supposed to happen, but it did happen. It allowed Justin Herbert to get his start, and Herbert went on to have a really nice rookie season for the LA Chargers. But now he's set to become a free agent. He said that he's 100% healthy from that lung injury, and he's ready to hit free agency. So the thought is, well, could the Lions be interested in signing Tyrod Taylor basically as the backup? And what kind of scenarios could happen if the Lions signed a guy like Tyrod Taylor? First off, let's talk on the elephant in the room. The Lions already have a backup quarterback, which is Chase Daniel. They only have David Blau as well, but they have Chase Daniel currently under contract for 2 more seasons. He was signed to a 3-year deal by Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn. So we still have him under contract for a couple of more years. And there is some guaranteed money there. So if the Lions did want to cut him this season, there would be well over $2 million dead cap, but you would be saving roughly $2.3 million in cap space this season. So you save a little bit if you're the Lions, which would go towards signing a guy like Tyrod Taylor. So that money would probably go towards him. Now, Tyrod Taylor is expected to cost more money than $2.3 million per year. Maybe he takes less to come back and work with Anthony Lynn once again, but it's expected that he's going to be a free agent. And, you know, he has a lot of ties with Anthony Lynn because he's been with him in multiple places, including Buffalo and including being with him with the LA Chargers. So they obviously have a nice connection there. Remember, Anthony Lynn told us when he was doing that media pressers that he likes to start, you know, the guy with the vet experience. You know, they'll battle out for it. If the young guy wins it, then they start, but they likes to go with the guy with the vet experience. Now, if Jared Goff is still in the roster, I'm hoping that as long as Goff wins the spot, which I think he will, I'm hoping they go with Goff and not instead Tyrod Taylor. Like, I get he's older than Goff. He's 32 years old, but like, hey, you know, hey, I get it, but he's not a rookie. Like, we could start Goff. So this would be an interesting signing because when the Lions signed Chase Daniel, it was, I wouldn't say a win now move, but it was a security blanket, right? It was that option that, hey, if Stafford went down, this guy could get you through games if you play well enough. I'm not a big hater of Chase Daniel. I mean, I know some people blast him. He's terrible. I don't think he's terrible. I think he is what you expected. He is what he is. You know, you got what you pay for. You pay for a backup quarterback, and the good backup quarterbacks, not a lot of backup quarterbacks are going to take your team to another level, especially vets that are kind of proven, you kind of know who they are. They're just going to get the job done, right? They're just not going to sink your team. And that's kind of what Chase Daniel was. Now, were we awful when he was the quarterback? Absolutely. But that's because our team was awful. We were a really bad team last season. Really, really bad. All the difference between having a guy like Stafford and having a guy like Chase Daniel. We were just a really bad team last year. All right? We weren't going to win games, but it just kind of showed how bad of a team we really were when he was out there. I mean, I don't dislike him. I think it's just, hey, that's just what it was, right? I mean, we just weren't a good team, and there was no way that he was going to excel the team because he hasn't shown us in the past that he was going to do that. He can win games if the team around him is good enough, but otherwise, he's just going to try to keep you afloat and not really have a drop-off like we kind of had the year before with Jeff Driscoll, David Blau, and really we kind of needed that because they needed to win football games. So they wanted to make sure they had that option if something happened to Matthew Stafford last season. But unfortunately, the team wasn't good enough, so even when Stafford wasn't there, it just wasn't even competitive. But now Tyrod Taylor comes into the mix. Now, this would be an interesting signing to me because, like Chase Daniel, you think about it the same way that, okay, if something happened to Goff, you know, he could start. Or is there the scenario where, what if the Lions try to move Goff? If the Lions try to move Goff, then maybe he's your starter and you draft a quarterback. I mean, I'm just saying, there's always that possibility. It'll be talked about. If the Lions make a signing like this, it'll be talked about that. Wait, oh, is Goff safe? Could Goff be moved? And then the Lions have Tyrod Taylor. They could draft a top quarterback. And, he's already told us that he likes to go with the vets, so Tyrod could start. He could be kind of just that mentor bridge type of quarterback. And then when the rookie could take over, he could take over. That's always possible. But I believe Jared Goff's going to be the quarterback at least next season. I mean, I have a really good feeling. I don't know what it would be 3-4 years on the road, but next season I feel like Goff is going to be the quarterback. So it would be a really interesting signing because things would start to come up as soon as that signing would be made. Now, the way these rumors are phrased, it makes it sound as if they would be signing a guy like Tyrod Taylor as a backup, because one of them says literally as the backup, and the other one, I'm not really sure who Lions fan report is, but the other one does say that to the quarterback room. So that one's a little bit different. But if it's the backup to Jared Goff, it's interesting. I guess our own version of Chase Daniel probably a little bit more expensive. Saying where are we 2 years from now? Like, not like, hey, where are we this season? But if you sign him to a 2-year deal and Jared Goff stays as your quarterback, I think it does make sense in that way because where are we 2 years from now? If anything happens to Goff, he has missed a couple games, then we can put in Tyrod Taylor. We're comfortable with him to play. Biggest question here is just the price tag. I mean, how expensive is that price tag? You only have so much money to spend. Now, if you restructure Jared Goff's contract, you save the money from that, then you sign Tyrod Taylor, then it makes a lot of sense because then it would show you, okay, this is the backup for Jared Goff. He's another mentor, guy they're familiar with. It saves you the money. Then it would make a lot of sense. I'm not going to say I've watched tons of Tyrod Taylor film, but I can say I've watched some Tyrod Taylor film, and I can understand why the Lions would make a signing like this because it is similar to what you see. See, here, let's just look at it like this. If you guys have seen a lot of my breakdowns for film and things like that, there's a lot of similarities you see between a lot of this. First off, let's start with Jared Goff. Jared Goff, what do you do well? Timing routes, anticipation, play action rollouts, getting him on the move, using some of that, mobility, but he's really got on timing on play actions, having a good run game to play off of. Watch Tyrod Taylor. Very similar. Great running game, Buffalo. Played off of that. Short routes, didn't take as many deep shots, but he played off of that. Using mobility, getting to the outside, play action rollouts, a lot of timing, okay? Same thing with Tyrod Taylor. And then you think about the receiver we brought in, Terrell Williams. He is perfect for that for a guy like Jared Goff. We did a video on that as well, looking at his film. So I can understand what they're seeing here and how they're going to connect the dots. Because, hey, look, if Jared Goff goes down, and this is the way that Anthony Lynn wants to run his offense, there's enough similar skill set here where that he could fit. And then you got a guy like Terrell Williams who also fits what Jared Goff be looking for, which would ultimately fit what Tyrod Taylor is good at. And I'm not saying that I don't think Chase Daniel could fit this mold because I think with his skill set, he actually could fit a similar mold to this. And I think we saw it a little bit last season. But there is ties with Tyrod Taylor, not necessarily with Chase Daniel. So if they want to go get their guy instead, then I guess it makes sense, and that's what you do. One thing you guys have seen me do in my mock off seasons is I go get a young quarterback. I have him compete with David Blau for the backup position, and I don't get a vet quarterback. I cut Chase Daniel, and I just roll with those because I say to myself, okay, look, we're not win now mode, so it's okay to have these young quarterbacks. We're not in win now mode this year. Next year is like the year they said, okay, where are we, this season? So I'm fine with doing that. But even signing a guy like Tyrod Taylor doesn't mean you can't necessarily go get a quarterback in the draft if someone falls that you like, or even as a UDFA to bring him in and have him compete with David Blau, right? They could compete for that spot. David Blau's not safe, so they could compete for that spot as well, and you could still do that. There's nothing wrong with having that. Plus, one difference with Tyrod Taylor is this. As much as it doesn't sound like it makes sense to have the vet quarterback this season, think about the upcoming years, right? Lions are saying, where are we 2 years from now? So, not this season, but next season, it'd be nice to have a vet backup quarterback, to have a guy that's reliable, kind of like we did with Chase Daniel when Matthew Stafford was here. But think about it like this. If the Lions don't sign him this offseason, and that's who Anthony Lynn really wants as his backup, he's probably going to sign somewhere else this year and very likely to a multi-year deal, which means that next season he won't have the opportunity to get his guy. So as much as it may not fit perfectly this year, it may not be the must for this season. Next year, depending on how many years you sign him, then you have him on the roster, which you won't have him on the roster if you don't get him off this offseason because there's a good chance that he'll sign elsewhere for multiple years and you won't be able to bring him in next offseason. I felt like that's what our quarterback coach is kind of for. I mean, we hired a former quarterback, Mark Brunell, to be basically the quarterback mentor, right? I mean, that's kind of what this is. I thought that's what it was because we got a former player. I thought that's what that was. Be another mentor, which is fine, but I kind of thought we already had that with the quarterback coach hiring that we had. So I don't know. This would be a really interesting signing if the Lions did this. The last time we really saw him get a lot of opportunities came and with Anthony Lynn came back with Buffalo. And in that time, he wasn't spectacular, but he just did his job and it helped them win games because he completed through 3 seasons, 2015, 16, 17, in the range between 61 to 64% of his passes were completed. Pretty good there. And 16 touchdowns to 51 interceptions between the 3 years. He barely cracked 3,000 yards. 2 seasons, he barely cracked 3,000 yards. Yards per attempt were extremely low. Very low yards per attempt. So, he kind of just got the job done. Now, I guess his nickname is T-Mobile. I like that. T-Mobile. I see. Hey, who uses T-Mobile?
Where are my football pants?
Don't trust big decision.
I don't, but that sounds like an awesome nick. T-Mobile, I like it. So T-Mobile can run the ball. We know that in those 3 years that he was there. He had 568 yards rushing the first year, 580 the next year, and 427 the year after that. Now, it is important to mention that, 2015, 16, 17, I mean, that was years ago. So, I mean, he's a little bit older now. Tyrod Taylor's a little bit of a quarterback. And during that time, it was 2015 and 2016 that Anthony Lynn was the assistant head coach there and the running backs coach. So, it wasn't like directly working with him, but he was the assistant head coach. And also during that time, they were first in yards per carry in 2015 and 2016. So, that definitely helps out your quarterback when you have the best rushing attack in football. Now, he was part of that. He was part of that, and that's when his most rushing yards came because he had over 560 yards in each of the 2 seasons that he was there. So he was part of rushing the ball and putting up those good numbers for the Buffalo Bills, but I'm just saying it does help when you can run the football. Yes, do I think Tyrod Taylor is a better backup? Would he be a better backup, Daniel? Absolutely. I think Tyrod Taylor has had a lot more experience. I think he'd be a better backup quarterback for sure. So I think, Tyrod Taylor is more proven, and he's a better backup quarterback. I'll say that. But the price tag then comes into play. Because if you get him, say, around $3 million a year, you cut Chase Daniel, now it's close to what you're getting in return. However, I've seen it projected at the bottom, 4.5 a year to potentially $6 million a season. And I could see that. Like, that's kind of what's expected here. And I could see that kind of contract. And for the Lions, when I really want to double up the price, hey, I got $2 million from Chase Daniel. Now I'm going to go pay $4 million more to go, or $3 to $4 million more to go bring in Tyrod Taylor as my backup. Like, I don't know if I want to do that. If you sign Tyrod Taylor, it's 2 scenarios. And the number 1 scenario, which is the likely scenario, is that he is your new Chase Daniel. Here's your backup. You sign him for a couple of years. He's the backup to Goff, assuming that Goff is here, and he's going to be the mentor. He's going to be a guy with connections that you believe in, and that if something happens, he can take over the role. He's going to push. He's going to push Jared Goff for that spot, so he's not going to just completely earn it because Jared Goff knows there's ties here, and he is not afraid to start Tyrod Taylor. So it's going to make Jared Goff work, but he also can help him. Another scenario, which I feel like is very unrealistic, is that the Lions would look to try to pull off some kind of big trade with Jared Goff, sign Tyrod Taylor to be the starter for now, draft a quarterback, and then they can compete for the starting role. Those are the 2 scenarios I see coming out of this. And remember, when we signed Chase Daniel, we signed him to a 3-year, $13 million deal, which is just over $4 million a year. So it's not crazy to think that you would sign over $4 million to a backup quarterback. But at this stages, it would be a little surprising to me because I didn't think the Lions would do it. However, if you don't do it this offseason, but you want Tyrod Taylor for next year, then you have to do it now because you'll lose out on Tyrod Taylor because someone's going to sign him this offseason. And if they sign him to a multi-year deal, there's no chance for Anthony Lynn to pick him up next year. So it might be one of those things that, hey, we have to do it a year early, but it is my guy. I want to make sure I have him, so let's just do it now. I'm not really going to dive into Tyrod Taylor film because it's just a rumor. We haven't signed this guy yet. If we do sign him, though, there'll definitely be film videos we'll do on him. But at this point, I don't think there's really any need for that. We'll see. If this did happen, there'll definitely be a lot of chatter, but I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But what do you guys think? Tyrod Taylor for backup? Oh, it's early. It's early. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.